We live.
Sure.
Live on YouTube.
Live on the.
Jeez, can't even keep the gains in. Look at the gains coming back already. Did a very good session today. Are we speaking? Oh, we're the most sorry. No. Did a very good session today. Are we speaking? Oh, we're the most sorry. No. We did a very good session today. Myself and Dara both. We're on reasonably similar training blocks. We did a very good session today. Myself and Dara both. We're on reasonably similar training blocks.
Get things to pump.
Very similar, actually.
Yeah.
We're just going reasonably similar lifts.
Yeah.
You're probably going to go for more of a bench than I will.
I'll probably go for more of a bench, and you'll probably go for more of a strict press.
And a jerk.
Yeah.
So then cleans, jerks, power clean, squats, obviously. Big deadlifts as well. You're not going to deadlift, are you? You're not too bothered.
No, I don't think so. I think at the moment, Gerf tore my hamstring yesterday, so
I didn't.
at the moment, I'm not deadlifting at all.
We were having a fun rolly poo before.
It was a lovely roll. Lovely, like.
No one else had come to the open mat yet. We were rolling for about 15 minutes.
We were early.
And then Dara tried to invert, but obviously I went over. And
that was my own problem. I assumed my flexibility was better than it was.
And like it's you protecting your own body is your responsibility.
Yeah, no, you're dead right.
And Dara has a grade 3 avulsion fracture now in his hamstring. And
I need to get some tape.
It's not my fault.
No, it's not.
You know? So but yeah, so we did benching. Today was literally the first time I benched, and this isn't an exaggeration. This is not a hyperbole. This is not hyperbole. I haven't sat under a bench in I think 5 years.
I believe that.
So did a lot of close grip bench, super close grip, 60 kilos, 5x5. And now you can see the pump already. You can still see it there. It's a lovely scramble t-shirt. But yeah, to keep my press up. There's loads of comments.
So loads of comments already?
Yeah, let me just open that right up. And straight arm pull downs, tricep extensions. Dara was doing curls with an easy bar when I came into the dumbbell room of the gym. It was very concerning. I did my deadlifts, 5x4 at 170. Tear through those speed deadlifts, lads.
I didn't get to see your deadlifts now because I was busy doing those lat pull downs.
It's such a fun way of training. It's just so entertaining.
Do you know what?
I feel good now.
It's such a low stress form of training.
I feel like I've done something good for my body now.
A lot of the sessions I did last year, I would have like happily been in a car crash on the way to training and not had to do the training session. I remember sitting in the office here some evenings till 8 o'clock being like, I cannot go and train.
Sometimes after weightlifting, I'd feel like I was in a car crash.
Yes.
And like just cleans aren't real weightlifting and behind the neck jerks aren't real weightlifting, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just having a great time training, doing stuff, bodybuilding. Just bodybuilding for the purpose of more muscle is so novel. It's.
Do you know what the great thing as well is? Like, know how terrible you are at it.
Weight doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter. Reps don't matter. Weight doesn't matter. Sets don't matter.
Yeah.
I wasn't even counting the amount of sets we did.
I was just, as long as I got to near failure.
Yeah. As long as I was feeling it.
As long as I wasn't failing on the first set.
Yeah.
If I was failing by the 5th set, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that gym, the Flyfit is so well equipped for bodybuilding stuff.
You don't have a polar watch on your wrist being like, oh, you're slower than you were yesterday.
You don't have a barbell that says you just missed this snatch. But then, and then you just, my goal is a back like Lee Sang, but at 100 kilos, at 100 kilos, not at 60 kilos, you know?
Yeah.
I want to walk around like Owen everywhere for some reason.
I just want to be out of breath when I walk up the stairs.
I want to keep my conditioning as well.
Okay. So Hector, Milano, Lazar, Willie, Christopher, Aziz, all saying hello. Hello to you guys, whether it's morning or afternoon or evening. Hector says, what's up? Do you remember that Budweiser had years ago?
I do, yeah.
What's up? Okay. One question I have is how to maintain a straight back in front squats. I ensure it translates. While in front squat, I put most of my weight towards the heel. On the clean, that's difficult. So a lot of I assume what you're talking about with the straight back is in relation to like your upper or your mid back slightly curving over in the front squat or front rack position. That tends to be the biggest issue people will have. In the back squat, it tends to your entire back tends to incline over, but definitely on the front squat, we see some rounding forward of the mid and upper back. In my experience, the most effective thing for that, assuming you have the ability to maintain that position or the ability to hit that position with an empty barbell, so it's not some sort of mobility restriction, the number one thing that helps that is upper back development. So single arm rows, dumbbell rows, cheater rows, everything that's going to bring more strength to your upper back, your lower traps. All of that area can really be developed quite well, quite easily, and quite quickly. It's not like certain other areas that are very sensitive and that might take quite a lot of time to develop. I've had athletes who literally can't front squat above like 80% of their 1 rep max without upper back rounding, and you do 6 to 8 weeks of upper bodybuilding and strength work, and it improves drastically. And just even 2 sessions a week of those kind of dumbbell rows, rear delt fly, low raises, pendlay rows, supinated grip bent over rows, all of that will be really, really beneficial. Also, all of that upper back postural work will be really beneficial for the rest of your lifting as well. So it's multiple bird, one stone.
Or are you killing birds with stones?
It's very hard to get 16 gauge shotgun ammo these days.
Is it actually?
That's notoriously difficult.
Is that
Everyone told me that would be an issue when I bought a 16 gauge, but nobody listened to them, or I didn't listen to them.
as you want to do?
Aziz says, next time I run the RTA plus pull, I plan on going balls heavy for accessory, mainly belt squat. How impactful will that be to the main lifts? So really depends on the accessories. Things like belt squats, if you have ample belt squatting equipment, you can go really, really heavy on your belt squat and it will affect your main lifts. So if you're running the RTA and the pull program, you have 4 sessions a week, at least 3 of which will be very, very difficult sessions, probably 4 of which will be difficult sessions for much of that 10 weeks of training. If you're then adding in something like the belt squat that's very heavily loaded, so you can load the belt squat with 1.5 times body weight and be doing 5 sets of 12 with it, without going too crazy on it, and that will definitely have an effect. It's not that kind of vibe for like you might have with something like push-ups or weighted sit-ups or something. So I would just be wary of that and be conscious of it. It's not like you shouldn't be it. You should be going heavy and you should be going hard in them. You should feel like you're pushing yourselves with them, but just make sure you're not doing it on overly heavy exercises. You can certainly do it on things like quad extensions, if they're machine quad extensions, hamstring curls, all those things you can go ham on. You can go push them quite hard, but on the heavier stuff, just be conscientiously loading them.
Yep. It wouldn't be the worst thing either, though, if you did go pretty ham on those. Like, it wouldn't, in terms of your long-term progress, if you had a big belt squat or big split squat, it might negatively affect that current cycle of the RTA and pull you're doing. But if future training blocks, if you maintain those gains, if you could, would be reasonably valuable. Rob says, hi lads. So says, greeting lads, happy to hear it to be a fridging program. Keep up the good work. I actually started pen to paper today on the every time
a video comes on. It's like people know.
I started the Becoming the Horse program today. So pen to paper, the main lifts I want to focus on. So it's going to be about 20% more bodybuilding than usual on most programs. So it's going to focus on squat, deadlift, clean and power clean. You don't have to be super efficient with them, but it is a benefit. There will be jumping in it. So the first program we have with actual plyometrics or jumps in it. Then there's going to be focus on strict press, loads of bodybuilding, weighted push-ups, weighted pull-ups, a lot of direct arm work, chest work, back work, lots of that. And then there's going to be some behind the neck push press. I was going to stay away from the jerk, so I was in 2 minds between doing a push press and some benching, but I think I'm going to press and some benching, but I think I'm going to leave the bench out of it and keep it a little bit more athletic based and go for a bit of a heavy behind the neck push press, which pretty much everyone can do, and most athletes would benefit, or most people who want to be kind of powerful will benefit from it. And lads, I don't want to hear, when this program comes out, I do not want to hear the following statement: can I run this in a deficit? I swear to fucking if one of you asked me that.
This is the opposite of what that program's designed
I want
to do.
you on as much creatine as you can handle, as much calories. I want like 1.5 pounds of protein or grams of protein per pound of body weight. I want
your mom to be afraid.
I want your mom to be like, you're eating a lot of fats, aren't you?
Are you looking after yourself in terms of your health?
Yeah, like I want 100 grams of
That's what I want.
100 grams of fat every day. I want like lots of protein.
I want it to be like the old style T Nation articles where it
Yeah.
was like 4 liters of milk or like 2 gallons of milk and 20 eggs a day.
I want you when you train on becoming the horse program, like you're 17 again. No, you're not becoming the
Yeah,
horse.
yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
oh, I'm gonna do a little cut. I don't want to hear any of it, lads.
No.
None of that on this
None
program.
of that.
Right?
That's not what this is about.
There's plenty of time for that in other programs.
Yeah.
But not in this one, okay? Just for 10 weeks.
This is the time for you to put on a pair of jeans in 3 months and be like, oh, shite.
Yeah. Do you know what? You should be wearing jeans and boots in the gym when you're doing this program. When you're doing your weighted dips and the Becoming Harsh program, I want you in jeans and boots.
Yeah, in a shed.
Unironically.
Unironically,
that you're going for a look. You just finished doing stuff and you're still wearing your boots and work jeans.
Yeah, you had to run in.
That's what
before
I want.
the cattle escape again.
Yeah, and you just want to finish. You have to get the training in.
Lazar says this week's question is about shin pain. So as usual, we don't answer injury questions. Says anything other than taking a break and slowly building up again. No, so we're not injury experts, so we can't answer a specific injury question because we're not a doctor. But in terms of shin pain, a lot of the time what you get with shin pain is you get chronic tightness near tibialis anterior. You also get chronic tightness in both of your calf muscles. So I would say just make sure you're not overly tight in either of those areas, but taking a break and slowly building back up is definitely the best thing with those kind of repetitive strain injuries. Peter says, about to do the road to anywhere 200 kilo plus, can I substitute banded clams for the abduction machine? Lol. You can definitely. Abduction will, those machines, whatever they are, those weird kind of clam machines, they'll do the same job. Cortiso Coristo says audio is good. That's great to hear. Isaac Marin says, is a trip to the west coast of the USA in the cards or on the cards anytime soon? It's probably not. So as audio know, myself and Garth have a lot of travel coming up this year. And the US has a whole, there's a bit of an issue with myself and Owen in the USA at the moment. But I think we're going to have to get visas sorted for the start of next year because a friend of ours is getting married. So we will probably have US visas sorted for 2024. That won't be to the West Coast, but hopefully we'll get over there at some point. If there's a gym wants us to do a seminar, we will go anywhere in the world. But to the US, we just need an extra few months of notice. For unnamed reasons. Okay, Milano says, what role do loaded carries play in your programming for athletes? Do you feel like they're an important? Do they become less useful at a certain point? So weighted carries are a valuable tool. There's a number of reasons they're not a kind of main go-to for us. They're in certain ones of programs, certainly, and we use them from time to time. There's issues with weighted carries though. So the first issue with weighted carries is just merely logistical issues. So if we program squats, we'll say it will be a set by a rep by a load. So it's 5 sets of 10 reps at 50% of max. For weighted carries, the initial input value is unknown. So myself and Owen could have the same deadlift number or the same back squat number, and we could have vastly different weighted carry numbers. So relative intensity is relatively difficult to program. Usually we'll program it as a percentage of body weight. The second logistical issue is that most gyms don't have the facility for you to walk 20 meters or 30 meters or however long it is. And so then you get people doing these kind of loops or laps or over and backs in a gym environment that isn't ideal. And if you're programming in weighted carries are not insignificant in their loading. So you can't simply substitute it out and get somebody to do goblet squats or goblet lunges with 2 kettlebells on the same patch and expected to have the same loading. So they're not a great kind of plug and play exercise. One area I really like weighted carries for though is when people are returning from an injury and have to build a lot of stability back. So classic example of this will be any sort of hip injury, any sort of back injury where people are slowly returning to training and their loading is gradually being added on as they go. So obviously in those cases, if you have somebody that might have been out for 4 or 5 months, an initial loading phase for them might be walking for 2 kilometers, then putting on a backpack, or initially putting on a backpack with 5 kilos in the backpack and walking for a few kilometers, then they might start having heavier units of walking for a shorter distance. In those cases, they can be very, very useful. But in the broad sense, they're not really there's certain exercises that are priorities to have in every program. They're certainly not one of those exercises.
Suggestions for the best dumbbell only GPP RT prep exercises. Barbell is on the way. So I've been doing lots of butt split squats, front foot raised, rear foot elevated. I would be doing a lot of walking lunges. I'm doing stiff-legged RDLs, stiff-legged deadlifts maybe from deficit. I would doing lots of lower back stuff, so maybe some prone back extensions weighted with the dumbbells if you have them. Plenty of core work, and you should be pretty good in the regard.
Yeah, I would. If you're worried about the RTA, the main thing you need to be worried about is the volume. Most people don't ramp onto the program effectively because they're used to squatting heavy weights less frequently than you're going to be squat. So I would say if you have heavy dumbbells, or even if you'd like 2 30-kilo dumbbells, putting those on your shoulders and doing some sets of 20 would be a very good place to start as well. Rob Burke says tap early and tap often. I cannot agree more.
Yeah, Dara's great for that. For Jointlocks, I'll tap super fast. I'll tap so straight away.
The set I lose my grip on an armbar, because I'll hold this for hours. I'll hold this for ages. I'll hold this for ages. The second my hand comes away from hand, I'm already tapping. If Garth holds my foot in his hand, not a fucking hope. Garth's ass won't hit the floor with that footlock before I've already shouted and tapped and written a letter to him to tell him not to do it. I tap.
Your internet is...
Are we back?
No, it's still up there.
What are you saying?
So it says, your internet is unstable. Please.
Are we still live, guys?
Are we still there?
It'd be great if we could get a little confirmation that we're still...
Oh, yeah, so it's still there. Okay, are we back now?
Okay.
Are we back to normal now?
Okay, we're good.
So yeah, I tap early to Jointlocks. I'll tap immediately, like not immediately, but if it's in any way, tap early to Jointlocks. I'll tap immediately, like not immediately, but if it's in any way chance that I've no chance getting out, I will just tap. But for chokey stuff, I will go for
chokes. There's no,
I'll go for a long time without.
For chokes, I need to feel my, the cartilage in your windpipe.
To be honest with you, I'll tap for chokes. If someone gets it really fast and unexpected, I'll tap straight away, obviously. But if someone's trying to go for a slow choke, there's a good chance I'll outlast it now. At this stage. Patrick Lewis or Luis.
It's hard to tap though when somebody falls on top of you and tears your hamstring.
I was passing you. So on that subject, Patrick, a resident black belt, so if you want to invert, make sure you're able to put your toes on and lift your hip off the mat and invert it. If you can't do that, please don't invert. I don't know what Fitz is trying to do, but I just passed. What were you trying to do?
We had been going from, I was in turtle, you were coming around, and I was pulling back into half guard, and you lifted my far side leg and put my toe on the mat. So it was like we both twirling around, and then it was like,
make it seem like
it's not Garth's fault.
You're making it seem like I put you in that position.
I'm not gonna lie, I had horrendous back issues 2 weeks ago from having tight hamstrings.
Oh yeah, that's true. I've forgotten about that.
And shock horror, my hamstring gets injured, so it's in no way Garth's fault. And I'd have no problem blaming Garth, even if it isn't his fault. That is a good point, though. That inverting and lifting your head off the mat is a...
I'm surprisingly flexible with the inversions.
You are, yeah. My spine does not like
it. It is too long. Too long and heavy.
Just...
What are you, 115 kilos now?
Banana bread. And then banana emoji says, question regarding balance super compensation. Did we have a question like this last week as well? In MMA 7 Deadly Sins video, Stephen Thompson, you gom lads. What's the story people call it? Gom in... Calling someone a gom in Ireland is like calling someone a cunt in America.
It actually is.
Like, you can call someone a cunt and it's no big deal at all. Like, Garth's a sound cunt. He's a ginger cunt. He's whatever. And it's no big deal. Calling someone a gom is like, How do you?
Yeah.
So, Banana Bread later on says he uses the term please playfully. He means no offense. Okay, where's the original question? Okay, so, oh my God, I've lost it again.
Super competition, 7 deadly sins.
Ugam lad said no super computation of balance, likely because affecting sport specific movement. What should he have done? So the word super compensation is just the issue here. So super compensation is in like sport and exercise science. You would think about super compensation as introducing a stimulus, that stimulus breaking something down, and then in the rebuilding of that system, there is a super compensation and that system becomes harder. So a really good way of thinking about it is like calluses on your hand. So when you grab a barrel or when you grab a rope and your hand gets damaged, and that super compensation is in the re-healing of that skin underneath, it keeps the dead skin on the outside and it holds onto that block of skin for better, and your skin thickens, that the overall thickness of your skin increases. The thing is with balance training, with motor cognition stuff in general, you don't get a breaking down of the system. And so thinking about it as super compensation probably isn't the correct term. A lot of the time what you're getting with balance training, neurocognition or motor cognition stuff in general, is your skill development is increasing. So you're going from a skill level of 1 to a skill level of 2 to a skill level of 3. As we said last week, there's definitely some physiological changes that come around through that kind of skill development. So it might be the connectivity between your inner ear and your brain. It might be the connectivity between your optic nerve and your brain, your optic nerve and your brain. It might be the actual afferent and efferent nerves are increasing both in their cross-sectional area and their myelination. There is some of that kind of physiological adaptation that's happening, but it's not through super compensation. So you're not breaking something down and then building it up to be heavier or stronger or more effective than before. You are simply introducing a stimulus, and that stimulus causes more of your kind of capital to go to that area. So that's the thing with super compensation. It's not the kind of breaking down and building back up. There's nothing uploading on your laptop inside, is there? No. Okay. Eric Natushk says, day 2, week 8 of the beginner weightlifting program, I was unable to make my snatches. I made 1 of 3 of 75 kilos and 0 of 2 at 80 kilos. How do you recommend, or do you recommend running this week over again? So week 8, you max out? No. So with week 8, so for people who aren't beginner weightlifting programs, a number of kind of semi peaks as you go through the program, give people an opportunity to touch some heavier weights, give people the opportunity to see what their technique is like as they're kind of gradually improving their technique, and see what it's like at the heavier or at the higher relative, and people the opportunity to see what their technique is like as they're kind of gradually improving their technique, and see what it's like at the heavier or at the higher relative intensity. So with week 8, I'm correct in saying that's one of those semi peaks in the middle. So you're good. Just continue on to week 9. Week 9 shouldn't have the same loading in it.
The audio's still shit.
The audio is?
Yeah. I don't know what that is now. Might just have to stop the stream and restart it there for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
The problem with the YouTube live stream, if something goes wrong midstream, there's no way of fixing it.
Okay, let's just give it a second here.
Nah, it's been a while now. It's not getting any better. It's been 5 or 6 minutes since that thing came up.
Okay.
We just stop and restart.
I say so.